We're going to say we're live. Hello, and thank you for stopping by yet another edition of the Massachusetts Beer Reviews channel of YouTube. Again, I am your host, Thomas Metal75, and this is your Massachusetts Beer Reviews. And this beer review comes by way of Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's their Founders Brewing Company beer. This one is a very popular one amongst imperial stouts. It is their original breakfast stout, with the baby eating porridge or some kind of cereal out of the spoon. And even some states, like New Hampshire, have tried to ban such a thing with kids on a beer label. Whatever. This is as they say on the bottle, a double chocolate coffee oatmeal stout. This is an imperial stout, an American imperial stout, by the way. 8.3% alcohol by volume. It is 60 IBUs. This one particularly, the 4-pack that I bought, the bottle from the 4-pack here is bottled on November 3rd, 2017, which you would think this might be a little bit old, but not entirely for the style at all. These kind of beers can age imperial stouts. Although one of the first things to go in the aging process of any beer is going to be their added flavors to it. But I digress. They say as follows: the coffee lover's consummate beer, brewed with an abundance of flaked oats, bitter and imported chocolates, and 2 types of coffee. This stout has an intense, fresh roasted Java nose, topped with a frothy, cinnamon-colored head that goes forever. And if you know anything about the Founders breakfast stouts, they have just this one, which isn't aged in any kind of an oak barrel or any kind of a barrel. Then they have Kentucky breakfast stout, which is aged in Kentucky whiskey barrels, which is delicious. And even more rare, but it is getting some distribution, just not in Massachusetts that I can see yet, is Canadian breakfast stout, which, yes, is made in Canadian whiskey barrels. And you would think that maybe Kentucky whiskey would have more of a bolder flavor, but it seems like the fans are seems like fans have always preferred Canadian breakfast stout with the Royal Mountie on the top. And I only think that it comes in 750 milliliter bottles. I'm going to put this in a wine glass, and might as well go right down the center of said glass. Now, they're using some kind of a local, I forget what they said on the website, but they're using some kind of a local coffee roaster to the Grand Rapids, Michigan area for the said coffee. Now, you can kind of see the baby. So, this beer is pretty black as night. There is tiny, tiny bits of ruby red, but I would say more so than any other stout and porter that I've had in a while, it is very dark and black. And it definitely has a cinnamon-colored head. I would say it's more like a copper or definitely a tan-colored head. Not a lot of carbonation that I can see except for around the rim of the glass. And the nose it's a little cold, so I apologize for that. But the nose has a lot of that dark chocolate baker's type, darker chocolate feel to it. Semi-sweet chocolate. Definitely medium to a darker roast, probably more like a darker roast, like a light Italian or espresso roasted coffee. Not overly smoky in any way. Definitely lots of raisins and plums and figs and darker type fruits. There's definitely a molasses type of a sweetness in here. Brown bread crust, very malty. And yeah, it just smells like a big chocolatey stout in general. The chocolate notes and the dark fruits, and with a touch of a roasty. I would say that the coffee influence is more roasty than it is smoky. So it's not really too smoky. So if all of that checks, and yeah, I guess I can kind of see where they're getting that sort of an oatmeal kind of a stout feel too as well. So yeah, if all this checks your marks for what you like out of stouts, let's dive into that one for you. Breakfast Stout, the original from Founders. Definitely bigger on the mouthfeel and the palate than on the nose for sure. Lots more of slightly charred, burnt, sugary kind of notes. Mixed in with the chocolate. There is a chocolate syrupy, just kind of a consistency about it. A little bit of a syrupy slickness, not too bad at all. It's definitely more of an Italian or espresso coffee, or at least some type of a coffee, medium roasted at the least. If you never put cream and sugar in it, it has that kind of a feel and consistency to the flavor. Again, like in the nose, I get tons and tons of dark roast, or dark figs, raisins, plums, those kind of darker fruits. Maybe even like a dark alcohol-soaked cherry or something like that. It is 60 IBUs, so I'm not getting a huge amount of like hoppy bitterness notes. Except towards the end is really where, as it finishes, it kind of gets bitter. There's a little bit of a lactic, kind of a souring note, but the bitterness to me is more earthy. And there is maybe a touch of citrus in there, but not a whole bunch. Maybe just a little bit there. Like I said, there's this lactic, sugary sweetness in there, and then when it dries, I'm getting that kind of a souring note to it, like with a cold coffee without any cream or sugar really added to it. Again, it's a high medium towards full-bodied beer, but actually, to be completely honest, for the style of beer this is, and that being 8.3% alcohol by volume, it's actually a really approachable beer for what it is. I would say, even besides the fact that it's 8.3, I think the way that it's drinking, for it being a bigger beer, more so than the alcohol percentage, makes it dangerous. Any beer that's got this, any alcoholic product that has an amazing drinkability can be a really great thing, and can be really dangerous in the hands of somebody that's got to go and do things later, or that's got to go drive and nobody lives near them. A little bit of a creamy kind of sensation in there from the head when it's poured. And it's got really a great looking lacing to it. I think on Beer Advocate it gets, out of over 16,000 reviews at this point, or at least ratings, the average is around a 4.51 out of 5. And I believe on Untappd it gets a 4.17 out of 5, what do they do it? Out of 5 bottle caps. So, I mean, I'm right in line with that. My base is just going to be a straight 90. Now, there are other people in this whole YouTube beer community, the Ron Theriot, kind of Thomas Meadow 75 Wednesday night examination crew, that's had the beer before. We reviewed this on a fellow YouTuber. His name is Tyler Mansell. We reviewed it on I reviewed it on the Tyler Mansell channel last weekend when we looked at Founders beers. And a lot of the guys that have had the Founders beers thought that A was just a little bit too generous for this, but this is a great base beer. Nothing wrong with that at all. I wish there were maybe a little bit more malts going on, a little bit more body and complexity, but that's nitpicking. As my buddy Dave, you might have seen on the channel, he likes to talk about really good stouts, and especially ones that say breakfast stout, or like a Weyerbacher Sunday morning stout. He likes to talk about them in saying that they have a breakfast type feel. And yeah, this has got coffee in it and oatmeal, oaty, kind of grainy notes like that, sure, but breakfast type feel, I would not want this for breakfast. I mean, maybe a special occasion would require this for a breakfast on the weekend or a lunch or a brunch or something. But 90. Pretty easy drinking for what it is, and it's got a nice carbonation, crispness to it to keep it moving along in the palate. So that's going to be it for today here for the breakfast stout from Founders, as we say in Boston. Founders breakfast stout. Not your mother's Guinness. No, 90. And until next time, just keep drinking those great beers. Let us know in the comment section below what you want to see us review. And if anybody is watching this on the day before Wednesday, February 28th, 2018, at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, as we always do on Wednesday nights on this channel, we are examining the beers of 6 Point Brewery. So if you would like a link to join us live for a beer from 6 Point, send me a comment below or go to the Masters Beer Reviews page, group of Facebook, and send me a comment there, and we'll get you on that examination. Cheers, everybody.